waving at the referee to come stop the fight. Bow, come stop the fight. Bow, come stop the fight. Am I lying, doggy?
But this latest development hits differently. Rumors are swirling that things reached a boiling point in the locker room, with Bronny allegedly becoming the target of his own squad. And the nanosecond LeBron caught wind of the disrespect, he switched straight from Proud Papa mode to Major Problem mode. We have got the full scoop, so let us break down this Summer League meltdown. The bad blood between Bronny James and his Lakers cohorts reportedly stems all the way back to the 2024 NBA Summer League, where frustration was the name of the game. It all centered around what other prospects described as blatant star treatment that effectively drove a wedge right through the heart of the roster. Let us recap. Bronny was grabbed with the 55th overall pick in the 2024 draft following a freshman stint at USC, where he posted an average of 4.8 points. He was shooting 36.6% from the floor across 25 contests, though he did miss the opening 8 games recovering from a terrifying cardiac arrest, leading most scouts to project him going undrafted. When the Lakers snatched him up, it immediately sparked a firestorm of controversy, with analysts asking the uncomfortable question, is this about NBA-level talent? Or was that legendary surname on the back of his jersey doing all the heavy lifting to get him a seat at the table? Once the Summer League tipped off, Bronny put up just 4.3 points on a rough 22.6% shooting clip over his first 4 outings, while missing every single one of his 15 three-point attempts. The Lakers stumbled out of the gate with an abysmal record of 0-5. And that toxic mix of losing basketball and questionable roster management created a pressure cooker of resentment. Yet, despite the cold shooting slump, Bronny logged the second highest minutes on the squad, averaging 25.1 a night, with only their first-round stud Dalton Knecht seeing the floor more often. Reports indicate that the massive spotlight following Bronny around became incredibly agitating for his teammates who were fighting for their livelihoods. One Lakers insider spilled the tea to the press, claiming this alleged preferential treatment sparked serious friction that completely derailed the team's ability to vibe and compete. Stephen A. Smith did not mince words regarding the situation, stating bluntly that the entire world is fully aware of the only reason Bronny is on that roster. Everyone knows the real reason Bronny is in the league.
We all know that Bronny James is in the NBA because of his dad.
He said it felt like Bronny was not really one of us. And that creates a major annoyance when you are trying to build chemistry within a group of hungry guys. This player went on to explain his personal frustration, feeling he was never placed in a position to succeed because the priority was elsewhere. He claimed the schemes and game plans were tailored specifically to showcase Bronny's skill set, forcing everyone else to take a back seat just so the kid could shine. The source emphasized that if you polled any other guy on that California Classic or Summer League roster, the vast majority would corroborate the story about the special treatment they saw firsthand. Another insider clarified that, while he holds no personal grudge against the kid, the hard truth is that Bronny simply is not ready for the spotlight or the NBA level of play. From my perspective, this was a feeling shared by multiple prospects who felt their legitimate shot at cracking an NBA lineup was slipping away. They felt sacrificed at the altar of the organization's obsession with developing the King's son, seemingly ignoring the actual production happening on the hardwood.
The first game of the season, opening night, the Griffies in attendance, father-son duo playing in an NBA game for the first time, an absolutely positively wonderful story. And then reality sets in. We love what we're seeing from him in the G League because that's where you belong.
Lakers owner Jeannie Buss brushed these allegations off as nothing more than sour grapes, implying the noise was coming from guys who simply did not have the goods to make the cut. She suggested they were ignoring Bronny's actual presence and were just scrambling to find a scapegoat for their own failure to secure a contract. Head coach JJ Redick frequently framed Bronny as Exhibit A for the franchise's revamped player development system, trying to shield him with a long-term vision. The front office seemed dead set on force-feeding him the repetitions necessary to mold him into what they hoped would eventually be a solid two-way contributor. You could see this philosophy in action during Summer League. Bronny stayed on the floor regardless of the bricks he threw up or the losses piling up in the win-loss column. The heat regarding the Lakers' strategy spilled out of the locker room and flooded sports radio, with pundits questioning the wisdom of prioritizing one kid's growth over the team's integrity.
And that's what we're going to talk about. Yo, guys, look. Can we all just come to the conclusion that Bronny James it's not good enough to be on the Lakers? Can we just all finally come to the conclusion, bro?
Now, to be fair, Bronny did rally in his final 2 Summer League showings, dropping 25 points and dishing 3 assists while hitting 10 of 21 shots, including 3 of 8 from deep, before getting shut down. Those flashes showed a glimmer of potential. but for the doubters. 2 decent outings did not exactly wash away the taste of weeks of struggle. That friction from the summer really set the table for the ongoing debate regarding Bronny's roster spot and whether he actually earned that jersey.
You had people like Richard Jefferson and Tim Legler talking about Bronny has everything. All he needs to do is just, I'm like, really? All he needs to do is just work on 1 or 2 things. Really?
And there was one specific incident that perfectly encapsulated all this tension. A moment that instantly went viral across the entire sports landscape. We are talking about JJ Redick losing his cool. If there was a snapshot that defined the pressure cooker surrounding Bronny in the 2025-2026 season, it all went down on November 18th, 2025. During a heated matchup it all went down at the Fiserv Forum against the Milwaukee Bucks, sparking a viral moment destined to loop endlessly across every social media feed. The Lakers absolutely crushed it that evening, taking the game 119-95, largely thanks to Luka Doncic, orchestrating the offense and steering the squad to a dominant win. However, the blowout victory also shone a harsh spotlight on the growing pains involving Bronny's fit within the NBA rotation issues that had been bubbling quietly for months. At just 21 years old and navigating his sophomore season in the league, Bronny was handed only the second starting nod of his professional career for this showdown in Milwaukee. This rare chance came about as the Lakers looked to assess their younger prospects and develop legitimate roster depth, all while managing a string of injuries that forced Coach Redick to tinker with various lineup experiments. This matchup against the Bucks was scripted to be Bronny's breakout moment to cement his spot in the rotation, yet it twisted into a grim lesson on how quickly things go south when a young athlete's confidence completely evaporates under the bright lights. Right out of the gate in the first quarter, Bronny found himself camped out on the perimeter with crystal clear looks at the rim. Twice, the ball swung his way, gifting him wide-open three-point opportunities that virtually any player at this level is expected to knock down without thinking. But rather than letting it fly, Bronny froze up and kicked the ball back out, totally killing the offensive rhythm and burning valuable possessions. Cameras caught Luka Doncic throwing his hands up in sheer exasperation, visibly ticked off by the wasted scoring opportunities. Luka made no effort to hide his annoyance that his teammate wouldn't pull the trigger despite being left on an island, especially since the Bucks were guarding Bronny like he was invisible, practically begging him to shoot.
Well, he gets in the game and the dude is literally scared to shoot, right? The Bucks were leaving him wide open. They basically were treating this dude like Russell Westbrook, like Ben Simmons, folks. They were just daring him to shoot.
After that second hesitation, Redick didn't wait. He yanked Bronny after only 4 minutes of first half action, sending an unmistakable signal about the standard of play required. Bronny stayed glued to the pine until the second half, clocking roughly 10 minutes of total floor time and putting up a measly 2 attempts the entire night. The tension between the head coach and his young guard had clearly hit a fever pitch that was obvious to anyone with eyes.
So JJ Redick, ladies and gentlemen, he was literally yelling at Bronny James on the sidelines to shoot the ball, right? It got so bad, folks, that he started to cuss Bronny James out on the sideline. So I'm going to put a picture of the graphic on the screen so you guys can see what JJ Redick told Bronny. He told him pretty much to shoot basketball.
Redick has preached accountability nonstop, constantly harping on shot confidence during practices and press conferences, because he views hesitation as a massive roadblock to a rookie's growth that needs to be tackled head-on. This tough love strategy is perfectly in sync with his overall coaching DNA. It stems directly from his own 15-year tenure in the league, where he was famous for his elite marksmanship and having the green light to fire away no matter the circumstances. Redick forged a career by never turning down an open look, so watching Bronny do the complete opposite was clearly grinding his gears. To his credit, Bronny handled the fallout with surprising maturity in the days after the game. He told the press he understood where Redick was coming from, admitting the coach was just pushing him to evolve as a shooter and take advantage of open space instead of deferring to the vets, highlighting his commitment to getting better every day. Bronny noted, "When the ball hits my hands and I'm open, I've got to let it fly." That shift in mentality paid off quickly when Bronny got sent down to the South Bay Lakers in the G League to get some reps away from the glaring NBA spotlight. During a killer performance against the Santa Cruz Warriors on November 22nd, 2025, he dropped 15 points on a solid 5 of 10 clip, handed out 8 assists, snagged 4 boards, and swiped 3 steals in a 115-95 victory, proving he was making strides in the exact areas Redick demanded: assertiveness and efficiency. JJ Redick opened up after a later loss to the Sixers, discussing why he played Bronny and exactly where the wheels fell off that evening.
This felt like on a back-to-back just him giving us energy, I think, was the goal. I maybe put him in a tough spot, flying up yesterday and, nationally televised game, Philly, all that stuff. It's, he didn't play well, but he's been playing great, in the Stay Ready games, and he's been playing great in the G.
Didn't derail the Lakers' momentum one bit, as they kept their hot streak alive with 10 wins in their first 14 outings. But the blow-up ignited a much larger debate about how coaches walk the line between tough love and keeping morale high, particularly for scrutinized rookies like Bronny who live under a microscope. It is worth noting that there were zero reports of any pushback from LeBron James or the other vets, suggesting the locker room saw the yelling as constructive coaching rather than disrespect. While Redick rode Bronny with a level of intensity that caught a lot of people off guard, the lingering question was how LeBron felt watching his son fight through these very public growing pains. LeBron's reaction and the evolution of their bond. Throughout the 2025 to 2026 campaign, LeBron James has kept his cool publicly, offering nothing but steady support despite his son seeing limited action and riding the pine more often than not. Instead of venting frustrations or pressuring the staff for minutes, he continuously highlights Bronny's development as part of the standard learning curve every rookie faces. This hands-off method fits perfectly with the King's historic promise to let his eldest carve out his own lane, ensuring his legendary shadow doesn't complicate the kid's journey. During a conversation on December 30th, 2025, the four-time champ doubled down on his claim that meddling with coaches for Bronny or Bryce is something he simply doesn't do. He made it clear he avoids back-channel calls, preferring that mentors guide his sons based on merit rather than feeling the weight of a superstar father's influence. When the topic shifted to witnessing Bronny's actual on-court evolution, you could practically hear the fatherly pride swelling in LeBron's voice as he shared his take.
That chapter been satisfying, actually seeing the tangible growth?
Seeing his growth? It's been great to see and to watch. And he's still young. Obviously just turned 21 not too long ago, and he's still learning and, still getting better with each and every rep.
After Bronny bounced back from that terrifying heart scare at USC and transitioned to the pros, LeBron pointed out in a March 23rd, 2025 interview that he sees consistent strides in his son's game that might fly under the radar for most fans. He remarked, "I've watched him level up from that very first game back post-recovery at USC all the way to what he showed us just the other night. We're talking about the cardiac arrest Bronny survived during a USC training session back in July 2023. That trauma introduced a layer of raw emotion to LeBron's outlook that you simply can't ignore. When you've almost lost your child, seeing them just lace up and compete on any court means infinitely more than any box score, shooting percentage, or rotation minutes could ever convey." Throughout the 2025 to 2026 run, Bronny's court time was up and down, averaging roughly 5 to 7 minutes in cameo appearances while the Lakers fought for playoff seeding. Through it all, the elder James has steered clear of throwing shade at the coaches or the front office suits. After a game on November 19th, 2025, he gave a candid but playful breakdown of how his son was performing. Chuckling, he called it a joy to watch. While freely admitting that Bronny is still green and climbing a steep learning mountain, James went on to chat about family dynamics, noting how things have shifted now that Bronny has moved out and is building his own independent life.
I think he's enjoying the process. I think you can obviously ask him, more than me. He's not a resident anymore, so we don't talk as much. He has his own place, so I can't just. But he's great.
Regarding those DNPs or short shifts like that blink and you miss it 1-minute run during the loss to the San Antonio Spurs on January 8th, 2026, LeBron stayed silent, even though the media loves to dissect those moments. Word from inside the locker room was that LeBron was actually taking a rest day for that specific matchup, and although the rumor mill churned about private talks, there's no record of LeBron ever bad-mouthing Redick or blaming the coach for the lineup choice. Bronny tackled the gossip head-on during a sit-down on July 3rd, 2025. He revealed that his dad's biggest piece of advice is to tune out the static regarding trade whispers and franchise drama that always seems to orbit their family. He noted, "We don't really hash that stuff out often, but when those headlines pop up, he basically tells me to pay it no mind, to just completely ignore it." While chopping it up on his Mind the Game podcast with JJ Redick, LeBron got deep about watching Bronny navigate the draft, reflecting on the fatherly joy of seeing his boy realize a lifelong ambition.
As a parent, to be able to be there to witness a child of yours start to live out a dream of theirs is something Bronny has always talked about, and he's, said, we asked him plenty of times, like, what is your end goal? And his end goal is to be in the NBA. And to see him almost at that moment, for a parent is something that you could just be in awe of, because, that's what you want your kids to be able to live out their dreams.
He admitted that being LeBron's son brings a level of heat that even he couldn't have survived at that age, mostly because the media world was so different back then. He is definitely his own man, and I'm not him. Honestly, I couldn't handle the magnifying glass and everything he's dealing with at his age, especially with the social media factor. I didn't have Twitter and Instagram coming at me when I entered the league at 18. Sure, I had pressure, and I carried a heavy load, no doubt. But I didn't face that 24/7 news cycle, with sports talk shows and feeds dissecting one specific person every single day, when analyzing the Kings' track record of pulling strings behind the scenes. His approach to the Bronny situation has been surprisingly low-key compared to the heavy-handed influence he has wielded over other franchise-altering moves. The superstar has never been shy about demanding aggressive roster shakeups in the past. Yet when the topic shifts to his own flesh and blood, he has publicly vowed to stay in his lane and keep his hands off the steering wheel. Back on October 1st, 2025, James took to social media to reflect on his lasting legacy, teasing the dream of sharing the court with both his boys. Though he spun it more as a heartfelt personal milestone rather than an ultimatum, the front office was forced to honor. Even though the icon has kept a poker face through the intense microscope of public opinion, the whispering campaign regarding exactly how Bronny landed a spot on the Lakers roster hasn't just lingered, it has continued to pour gasoline on the fire. The elephant in the room: nepotism. The Lakers calling Bronny James's name on draft night didn't just turn heads. It ignited a firestorm of accusations that the pick was entirely engineered by the massive gravitational pull of his father's superstardom. Detractors were quick to point out that, based on the raw metrics and independent scouting reports, the younger James was nowhere near a projected second-round lock when evaluated strictly on his on-court toolbox. At the dead center of this controversy stands the architect of LeBron's business empire, the powerhouse agent Rich Paul of Clutch Sports, who flexed some serious muscle throughout the entire pre-draft circus. As former Golden State executive Bob Myers spilled during the ESPN broadcast, Paul reportedly worked the phones aggressively, issuing a stern warning to multiple franchises: if you dare select Bronny, he is hopping on a plane to play professionally in Australia rather than suiting up for your squad. This hardball maneuver effectively scared off every other suitor, clearing a direct path for Bronny to slide all the way down to pick number 55, right into the waiting arms of the purple and gold. The sheer audacity of this strategy was unheard of, with an agent essentially holding the league hostage to ensure his client landed exactly where he wanted, forcing 30 other teams to fold their hands. Any other kid sitting in the draft green room could only hallucinate about having that kind of heavy artillery fighting their battles in the shadows. The entire scenario manufactured what insiders dubbed a toxic package deal that the rest of the association wanted zero parts of. It is a take-it-or-leave-it situation, and it looks like King James might have finally bet too big. The thinking was, I cannot just trick a contender into paying me $55 million. I am going to make them carry my underqualified kid on the roster. 2. But the market spoke loud and clear. Nobody was buying what he was selling. Consequently, he finds himself anchored in Lakerland for the foreseeable future. Whether that was the master plan or not, James had already planted these seeds back in 2022, famously declaring, "Wherever Bronny is, that's where I'll be," signaling to the world that playing daddy ball took precedence over chasing another championship banner or finding the right system. His tearful joy on draft night, followed immediately by signing a massive 2-year extension, only cemented the theory that securing his son's spot was the golden ticket to keeping the superstar in Los Angeles. The public fallout was swift and brutal, with the peanut gallery and pundits alike branding the move as shameless nepotism that spit in the face of the draft's competitive integrity. Former number 1 pick Kwame Brown didn't mince words, blasting the situation as a power trip where a deserving grinder lost their shot just so a superstar could gift wrap an unearned jersey for his child. Stephen A. Smith dropped the hammer by reading the stat sheet, challenging any apologist to explain how a player posting such abysmal numbers belongs in an NBA rotation. We are talking about a stat line that reads 0.3 points, 0.3 assists, and 0.4 rebounds, stats that are virtually non-existent. Do you know what the word on the street is? They are asking what this league is going to do to this young man. Considering that in 13 total appearances and 44 minutes of action, He has mustered a grand total of 4 points. His efficiency is non-existent, sitting at 1 for 16 from the floor and a staggering 0 for 7 from beyond the arc. As the calendar flips to the 2025-2026 campaign, the drama hasn't cooled off. Between the scarce minutes, the G League shuttle, and the feeling that he is bulletproof against being cut despite the production issues, the accusations of special treatment are sticking like glue. On the flip side, supporters argue that crying foul now is hypocritical, when the entire NBA ecosystem from the owner's box to the front office is built on handshakes, last names, and connections rather than pure merit. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski and Stephen A. Smith have pivoted to the argument that burning a late second-round pick on a project player is a low-risk gamble that barely registers on the franchise's long-term damage meter. Stephen A. Smith clarified that he wasn't taking shots at the King's character, but rather begging him, father to father, to think about the psychological toll this microscope is taking on his boy. Look, we all know the kid isn't ready, and I say this with love, Smith urged. I am appealing directly to the man who carries the league on his back, one of the top 2 to ever do it, a true ambassador for the sport, the face of the NBA, a 4-time champ, and a legend who has marched to 10 NBA finals, a basketball genius who understands the game better than anyone. He continued, driving the point home by digging into the boxing archives and invoking the painful memory of Joe Frazier throwing his son Marvis to the Wolves against Larry Holmes. I'm flashing back to years ago. Doggy, when Larry Holmes, the heavyweight king with the wickedest jab in the game, stepped into the square circle, you had poor Marvis Frazier standing there. And Holmes tells the reporter straight up, there is no way some kid with 10 pro fights is taking my belt today. And sure enough, he dropped the boy, hurt him bad. And before he even threw the final knockout blow, he was literally looking at the ref, waving his glove, begging him to save the kid. Pow, stop it, bam, end this now, I am telling you the truth. Doggy, that is exactly how it went down. And nobody blamed Marvis. Everyone stared at Joe Frazier like, Joe, we were all thinking, what were you thinking? Why would you feed your own son to a lion like that? Do you not realize who he's in there with? So I have to ask LeBron James, do you not realize that the grown men in this league are absolute sharks? But stepping past the father-son drama that has eclipsed the draft, there were far more dangerous cracks forming in the bedrock of the relationship between James and the Lakers organization itself. The tension at the top fractured alliances. Beneath the surface of the on-court stumbling and the nepotism headlines, a quiet war has brewed between the superstar and Lakers ownership, adding a heavy layer of drama to an already volatile mix. Owner Jeannie Buss reportedly vented behind closed doors about LeBron's apparent lack of appreciation, feeling that the franchise burned a pick on Bronny as a massive favor to him, a gesture she felt warranted a little more of a thank you. Insider info from ESPN's Baxter Holmes has recently shed light on some serious backstage drama brewing in Los Angeles. It appears Jeannie Buss expected James to show a lot more appreciation for the gesture, admitting she felt pretty let down when that sense of gratitude never actually materialized. This bad blood started bubbling up right in the middle of a hot summer, specifically during some already nail-biting contract extension talks. Word on the street is that Buss viewed utilizing that draft pick as a massive peace offering designed to keep King James smiling, even with Bronny having a rough go at USC following his heart scare. Buss reportedly grew tired of dealing with what she perceived as a massive ego and the heavy-handed influence of clutch sports on the franchise. Honestly, the vibe between the owner and her superstar hadn't just turned bad overnight. It had been curdling for years. Buss started feeling less like a partner chasing a ring and more like a puppet being pulled by the strings of the player in his camp. You can track the cracks in the foundation back to some major shakeups in the front office that left LeBron feeling sidelined and totally disrespected. At the end of the day, everything circles back to number 23 and just how broken his bond with the purple and gold has become. The drama really kicked off last summer when Luka Doncic got the heads up that the franchise was hitting the auction block. Talking about a seismic shift, that news was absolutely earth-shaking for the basketball world. The organization went for a historic price tag, yet James was completely blindsided by the news. Even though his supposed ally Jeannie Buss stayed in the picture, she retained her title as the team governor, meaning she is still very much pulling the levers behind the curtain. However, keeping LeBron in the dark while looping in Luka Doncic beforehand, that seems to be the spark that really ignited the feud between the king and the front office. The friction actually started way before Bronny got drafted, really blowing up after the Russell-Westbrook swap in 2021. Buss felt she made that move just to please LeBron, only for him to dodge the blame when it crashed and burned. She reportedly hated the narrative, painting James as the sole savior back in 2018. and things got so bad by 2022 that she actually toyed with the idea of shipping him across the hall to the Clippers. Fast forward to June 2025, and Buss handed over majority control to Mark Walter from the Dodgers, though she kept her seat at the head of the table. Come January 2026, LeBron brushed off the rumors, claiming they didn't faze him and refusing to get dragged into the soap opera, pressed about where he stands with Jeannie Buss. James played it cool, admitting that every story has two sides and people see things differently. He noted, "I felt like we were solid, but hey, someone else might view the situation through a totally different lens." Basically, he emphasized that there is always another perspective to consider when looking at the coin. He reiterated that since day one, his goal has been to represent the organization with nothing but pure respect, honor, and dignity, regardless of the noise. James went on to highlight his long-term loyalty, pointing out that his tenure in Los Angeles rivals his time anywhere else, so his dedication shouldn't be up for debate. He added, "Look, outside of my 2 stints in Cleveland, which were 7 years and 4 years, I've spent more time here than anywhere else." Throughout his journey from Cleveland to Miami and finally L.A., James has been shadowed by the infamous coach killer tag, thanks to the high rate of turnover on the sidelines wherever he goes. Since arriving in 2018, he's seen 4 different skippers: Walton, Fogel, Ham, and now J. Redick, all trying to survive the hot seat while rumors swirl about how much say LeBron had in their fates. When J. Redick got the nod in 2024, despite being a rookie coach who literally co-hosted the Mind the Game podcast with LeBron, it threw gasoline on the fire regarding James's influence over staffing. While the grapevine immediately labeled it a nepotism hire, James went on record stating he stayed out of the front office's ear, letting them make that call solo. Meanwhile, the rumor mill kept churning out theories about what was actually going down behind closed doors regarding Bronny. Things seemed to be spiraling downward week by week for the young rookie. It looks like he would rather be streaming video games or playing 2K than dealing with this reality. It feels like his dad is the one pushing him onto the court. As we hit the middle of January 2026, with the squad sitting at 25-16 against a brutal schedule, we still have way more questions than answers. With every bricked shot, every game spent on the Pine, and every frustrated clip that goes viral, the pressure just keeps mounting for the whole crew. Thanks for tuning in. If you dug this breakdown, go ahead and smash one of those boxes on your screen to catch more deep dives just like this one.